So I'm here today with Phil Telio, executive producer of Startup Festival. He's in Montreal. I'm in San Francisco. He's also the co-founder of Startup Camp Montreal and the founder of Embrace. Phil, thanks for coming and chatting today.
Thank you very much for having me, Dan.
Awesome. So today we're going to get right into it. Startup Festival is coming up in July. Curious as to the inspiration for the festival, what your vision is for it, and kind of some behind the scenes stuff. So where are we at with that?
With pleasure. Well, the inspiration is really simple. We've been running events now for 3 years, startup camp events, but they're camp events that instead of serving beer and pizza, we've been serving good food and good wine. And our last events have topped the 700 people mark. So the inspiration was, how do we do something bigger and better? Montreal is a fantastic festival city. We've got the Jazz Fest, we've got the Just for Laughs Fest, and a whole bunch of other festivals. So we figured we would try and pull off a big international event here in Montreal at the same time as all these other festivals, and do a lot of startup activity, get lots of startup people here, and enjoy the festivities that are Montreal.
Well, I got to tell you, man, being from New Brunswick, I spent many of my early years in Montreal. There's a saying, especially in the U.S., that Montreal is the Vegas of Canada. So it's a good time. There's definitely a good vibe in the city. I did notice, though, that you're kind of labeling as an international festival. Explain kind of the international aspect of that.
Correct. So, right off the bat, we're holding an event in Montreal, Canada. So, by definition, it not being in Silicon Valley, it makes it an international event. But the event is really to bring in not only companies and speakers from North America, but bring them in also from Europe. So truly try and create a bridge between Silicon Valley all the way on the west and parts of Europe. Montreal is really well situated between the two. So we figured we could pull it off, and so far so good.
Awesome. And talk to me about the speakers. It seems like you got a bit of a stacked event coming up. A lot of the name brand guys that I know that I want to hear from. How did you reach out to these guys, and how did you get them involved?
Yeah, well, the luxury and the beauty of having held sort of startup camp events is that at every event we've always had a keynote speaker or two. And so we had a good pool of people to go into and talk to, get them excited about the event. Very early on, Dave McClure, Chris Shipley, yourself, liked the idea of doing this event in Montreal. So that's where we sort of started, was from the point of the speakers that we knew. And from there, it's sort of grown. We've been able to get people like Howard Lindzen, Paul Kodrowski, Jeff Clavier, and a whole slew of other people. We really have already about 30 speakers lined up, really thanks to our initial speakers.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I know that we've talked about is the format of the event. There's kind of two tracks and kind of like a third area that people can go focus on. How did you think about that structure, and why? How is somebody going to feel that is to be a differentiated kind of feel?
Sure. So above and beyond the international flavor of the event, we really decided to focus the event on the business of running a startup. And for us, the business of a startup, there's several stages of the life cycle of a startup, from that very early lean innovating stage through that what we're calling fat funded stage, all the way through to crushing it, sustainable, and looking for exits. So those are really the three main tracks of the event, or the life cycle of the startups. And that's what the stage is really going to be focused on. So you'll get a lot of great lean information, as well as grow your business.
That's cool. So Phil, one thing that I always get, especially around events, and you've got a bunch of startups that should be there, and I know the ticket price is in the hundreds of dollars. How do you, do you have any secret, super duper discounted passcodes you want to share with the people watching this that are trying to do the lean startup, or how do you explain to them potentially the ROI that might be differentiated from other events?
Sure. Well, I'll start by saying that we're not a professional event planning company, so running an event for us isn't about making a whack of money and charging as much as we can for tickets based on the speakers. For us, it's really about creating a compelling environment where people are going to come and connect and have fun. The price of our tickets are kept as low as possible, and we're trying to really run it off the backs of sponsors. And we already have some great sponsors lined up for that, which are allowing us to keep the price of the ticket down low. To answer your question, we have created a special for you, Dan, a discount code called DAN20, which anybody that logs on to the site and registers through the site can get a 20% discount. Again, all in the spirit of getting as many great people here as possible, both speakers and startups. I mean, it's obviously an event for startups first and foremost.
That's awesome. So Phil, between you and I'm assuming there's going to be some good partying going on. Do you have? I know the agenda's not fixed yet because it's still moving, but what night are you excited about? Is there anything specific that you should be telling me that I should be prepping for? What do we got planned?
Well, Montreal is a great city with lots of bars and lots of play areas. The festival itself, we're organizing parties on the Wednesday night and the Thursday night. There's going to be lots of great activities on that Thursday night. We've got some comedian types getting up on stage. We're going to have a lot of improv entrepreneurship. We're going to have lots of fun activities, live bands and whatnot on the Thursday night. On the Wednesday night preceding that, which is really the kickoff, there is going to be fireworks happening right there because we're going to be on the end of a pier in Old Montreal. There's going to be big fireworks happening right off the pier. Not that we're paying for, happening in Montreal. And as you can imagine, whenever you pull off this kind of an event, community members in and outside of the city are already planning, off-event type activities. There's a dish crawl for the foodies to be able to run around the city. There's an amazing startup race that's being planned. There are some hackathons and lots of fun activities. But Montreal is one of those cities where you come in and the bars close at like 2, 3 o'clock at night. So there'll be plenty of activity for guys like you, Dan.
That's awesome. So I just want to say, Phil, thanks a lot for putting this together. You know that I have a huge spot in my heart for Canada and for supporting entrepreneurship. You're definitely one of the guys up there in Montreal making things happen. If somebody wants to reach out to you and participate in this event as a sponsor, potentially help you in the future on other things you might be working on, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is first to go to the website, which is www.startupfestival.com. We've got a call for startup pitches now that's going till May 15th. So hopefully lots of startups sign up for that. Anybody can reach out to me at phil@startupfestival.com or through the website as they so choose. We're always looking for people to get involved. This is an inclusive event. It's not a highly controlled event.
Awesome. And your Twitter account, Phil?
My Twitter account, we've got Startup Fest. And mine is @Telio.
So anybody watching this, I'm going to ask you, please give Phil and Startup Fest a shout out. Phil, I want to thank you again for coming today, and I look forward to Montreal in July.
Look forward to seeing you all in Montreal.
Awesome.